Hi, this is Osman. I'm Master Level Energy Healer, specializing in terminal illnesses and critical care recovery, as well as advanced yoga and meditation teacher. Be sure to visit my website, yogawellness786.com, for more information and context. Our therapies are also all natural based and not a replacement for medical treatment. If you have a medical condition, be sure to consult with and visit a qualified, licensed medical practitioner in your locality. So I wanted to discuss the role and influence of intoxicants, is the best word to say, intoxicants in yoga and meditation progress, right? So very often, anyone who goes to any yoga and meditation teacher across the board, 99.99% will discourage intoxicants, and many will go so far as to also forbid mild intoxicants like tea and coffee, right? So, what is my opinion on it? And of course, I understand, where they're coming from and what's behind all this. So, let's talk about two, commonly used intoxicants: the cigarettes and alcohol. So, let's come to alcohol. Alcohol has a effect very different from cigarettes. Of course, not physiologically. We all know, you know, cigarettes will damage your lungs, and alcohol of cigarettes can damage your lungs, and has been uh, considered, bad for your health and contributing negatively, towards your health markers, and can possibly cause you cancer. And one of the major contributors to people who, die of lung cancer or suffer with lung cancer. And not that every person who smokes is going to get lung cancer. And also, alcohol is something that makes you drunk, right? And it's something so amazing. When you're having it, you feel amazing, you feel on top of the world. But it is also something in a certain percentage of people, probably around 20% of the people, who become extremely addicted to it, and it starts affecting their social and financial life, where they start deteriorating, and it affects their behavior, and they lose, their loved ones, they lose their spouses, they lose all the properties, they lose their jobs, and they can't maintain, they cannot support themselves. And when one looks at these people, I myself, having being someone who loved, the consumption of alcohol for a very long time in my life. I quit it completely about 19 years ago, but I would say for at least another 19 years prior to that, or 21 years prior to that, I consumed it on an almost daily basis and enjoyed consuming it, and had amazing fun. But I understand what happens from a yoga sciences point of view. So when you are meditating and practicing yoga, the purpose is to elevate your consciousness and to advance your spirituality. And what alcohol does is dampens this and lowers your spirituality and your any advancement. It does something opposite to what yoga and meditation is intending to do. So let's imagine that your base level of your life force energy is on point zero, right? And there is the chakras, or the energy centers along your spine, from the base of your spine, 7 levels up, and there is lower levels, 7 levels down. When you're consuming alcohol, it drops you a level or 2 levels, depending on how much you drink. It can keep, the more and more you drink, the more drunk you become. You start going lower and lower levels, and even from the behavior pattern, you will notice you are different. So although you're feeling amazing, but you also can act very stupid and do things that you're going to regret, that you wouldn't normally do when you are not drunk, right? So because you went to a lower level of consciousness, so the purpose of yoga is to raise your consciousness to higher levels of consciousness. So if you're practicing, you're trying to go higher levels, and then you're having taking it to lower levels, this is you know, you have to decide, uh, how you want to progress. I'm not saying give it up completely. I've got experience with students who drink socially. They attend a social function and they drink, but responsibly, right? Not drinking until they pass out, or vomiting and becoming sick, and becoming sick the next day within reason. I'm not saying just have one glass. I mean, it's like impossible in a party situation, and just to have one or two glasses of wine, or just you're gonna have more, but pace yourself, so that you don't lose control, and try not to make it a habit, regularly, because then it will not affect you detrimentally. So this is not something unique that I am saying. There is someone else who is very advanced in the yoga sciences, right? Is one of the most advanced people that I had the opportunity to be trained under. Savai Subramanya Swami, who started the Saivai Church in Hawaii, and he recommends that you have a glass or two of wine with meals. Every day you can have it, and you can have or even have a beer after meals, right? A pint of beer, or maybe even two, right? But this is within reason, like something that's good for your health, and something you can use together with your meal, so you can go and have, but not become alcoholic, or on a regular basis. Like on occasion there's a party, yes, you're going to go, so it wouldn't adversely or substantially affect your yoga and meditation progress if you have control and occasionally lose control, right? On occasion, because there's going to be parties and occasions, right? Maybe that occasion happens once a week also. That's also not too bad, because I made a lot of progress in yoga and meditation. I even experienced Saamadhi states when I used to drink, and have a major party on weekends, right? And I used to be a very heavy party animal, right? So, I mean, I can consume like 1 to 2 bottles of whiskey myself, pacing myself. And I never used to lose control. I would say 99% of the time, never passed out or lost control. Very rarely, there were a handful of occasions where I passed out. And the next day, to recover on a Saturday morning, perhaps, I used to recover and continue the weekend with 24 pints in the morning within a 2-hour period. Right, I was able to consume it just to feel good again, and thereafter start a barbecue and get 2 bottles of whiskey, invite a friend, and the two of us, finish both the bottles, and maybe reach out for a third by 2 a.m. or late at night, and so forth. Not always. So that is like relatively the heaviness, level, and still experiencing. So it and I used to be more or less like, when during my meditation practices, try to avoid alcohols as far as possible, but throughout the process I was smoking. So does smoking negatively affect your progress in yoga or meditation? I would say no, it doesn't, right? Smoking cigarettes doesn't negatively, but it has another effect. What smoking does is, as you're progressing in your yoga and meditation, your body starts renewing, and you become like everything renewed inside, right? Your lungs become very sensitive, like a child's lung, and so when you become more sensitive to these things, the harmful effect is that much worse. It's like giving cigarettes to a child, like a 3-year-old child or a 4-year-old child. He's so sensitive, and everything is new inside him, and he can become sick even from the passive smoke, right? They can become sick from it. But the adults are stronger, and they've got some resistance, and they're a bit hardened on the inside, so it doesn't affect them so bad. But by you practicing yoga, meditation, all that, this works towards renewing your body and rejuvenating you and keeping you as though you are still young, and makes you very sensitive. You become, as you're progressing with your practice of yoga, your system and your body become more and more sensitive to harmful substances. So the toxins affect you negatively. A good example, so it's an isolated incident and not necessarily what's going to happen to everyone who practice yoga and meditation, but just as an illustration, that the teacher of Swami Vivekananda is someone who brought yoga science to the Western world in the early 1900s, when he went to the World Religious Council, or talk. He gave a talk to the United Nations. He addressed the United Nations, I think in 1902, and he gave a talk on yoga. And his teacher was Ramakrishna, and Ramakrishna had the habit of smoking a pipe and had throat cancer, right? And suffered with throat cancer throughout his life, although was very highly elevated spiritually and in meditation, and he could initiate people, and with his touch take people into an out of body experience, into amazing experiences, right? But yeah, he was addicted to smoking, and he suffered with, so it's like the extreme case, of someone who's going to be, who's advanced and his body is sensitive. So of course you become more prone to the negative effects of tobacco. So one of the negative effects cancer causing. So he contracted cancer because he's on an advanced level, in my opinion, right? That it is sensitized his body, because because I know what happens to my own body. So my body is so subtle and sensitive that even I eat onions and garlic. So they also say in yoga sciences to avoid onions and garlic. So I used to wonder, I mean, these things, this is a vegetable, and they are from the ground, and they should be something very healthy, right? But when I consume foods cooked with garlic, right? And I love spinach, and spinach usually when I used to purchase it on a Friday, I used to go especially to have my favorite, because I love spinach as one of my favorite dishes, and they used to prepare it with a lot of garlic, right? And after eating that meal, for at least 2 hours, I have to go and sleep. I cannot work, or I'm feeling extremely drowsy, as though I had an overdose of sleeping tablets. It takes me, and I have to sleep to let it wear out for at least 2 or 3 hours before I can function again. And I cannot be normal. I cannot go back to office situation, or carry out any duty. I have to have that rest. It becomes very difficult, right? Even I can have very strong coffee, together with it. It takes me. Then the effect of onion, just having one slice of raw onion, because normally in salads they slice onions. So when I take one slice of raw onion, I become drunk, as though I had a few doubles of whiskey, like 3 or 4 double whiskeys, right? I feel intoxicated. I feel amazing also. I said, oh my God, it's so amazing. I've been wasting so much of money on whiskey. So it's so cheap for me to get drunk. Just get advanced in yoga and meditation. Have a slice of onion, and you're feeling fine. And you're feeling good, like you had, the initial effects of alcohol, when you're starting to feel good, right, from the alcohol, but you're feeling drunk. And that feeling lasts with this one slice of onions for about 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours, right, when I have it. So my body, before I reached the advanced levels of yoga and meditation, I never had that experience. And I used to wonder why people were forbidding, garlic and onions. So it influenced that. So imagine you becoming intoxicated or becoming very drowsy, and you're trying to meditate, So this is, contradictory to what you're trying to achieve. And long term, using it, it's going to become part of your bloodstream, and it's going to have a counter effect, to the progress you want to make. But from my perspective, my experience, that was the experience on it, right? So it is a type of intoxicant, because something making you, like drugging you to sleepiness, like having sleep tablets, overdose of sleep tablets with a garlic, or having alcohol and feeling drunk, right, for between 6 to 8 hours. That is amazing. Even alcohol doesn't last that long. So, with one slice of raw onion, a nice round big slice of in the salad that people normally put, and the alcohol itself is going to have the effect of bringing your consciousness to lower levels. And if you're going to consume it regularly, it's going to be contrary to your practice. But it is, if you want to consume alcohol, consume it socially and responsibly. And if you want to consume it daily, you can have it in a healthy manner, in a recommended healthy manner, like 1 to 2 pints with or after meals, right? Or 1 or 2 glasses of wine with or after meals, right? Together with, not before meals, not on an empty stomach. So hope that information helps you, and take care.